I guess I had a troubled childhood is one way to put it. So I'm just taking off my shoes so I can get more grounded. I have a lot of what you would class as big T trauma. And my mum, it's interesting, my whole story has changed on my life. But my mum was involved in, or aware of, or an instigator of a lot of that trauma. So really quick backstory, when my son was 2, he's 5 now, so that's 3 years, yay. I really started to question my life, my existence. You know, for many of you that have been on my masterclasses around wealth and money and creating the life that you desire, back then 3 years ago, I was married, I had $1 million business, and truly from the outside looking in, I was happy and I had everything. Yet I was empty inside. There was this belonging that I was missing, I guess, this piece of me that I feel like never really truly felt like she belonged. And my history, my story, my childhood has you know, sexual assault, it has neglect, I guess, it has abandonment, and I'm really just sitting and reflecting with how much I allowed that unhealed story to impact my life. So 3 years ago, when I began this deep dive into self, when I truly started to actually do the healing work to come home to myself, if you had have told me that I was going to rekindle with my mother, I would have laughed in your face and told you you were crazy. And purely because in my story, in my mind, she was the reason for a lot of my pain. I had definitely outsourced my power to fall victim to the choices that she made. That's not to say she's not blameless, and that's none of what I say is to lessen I guess the survivors of trauma or victims. It's truly just to take back ownership of the parts of the story that we can. It's truly to take back ownership of our own healing and then be curious about how that manifests or magnetizes into our very real 3D world. You know, I've been reflecting on this journey I literally only went last weekend, so it's been a week. I've had a week of integration in an eclipse portal. And I've been reflecting on what it feels like to be in this place of forgiveness and building a relationship with my mum. And truly, it's like all the work that I've been doing, all of the breath work, learning breath work, all of the NLP modalities, all of this stuff that I've been participating in or learning and embodying, that is almost, and bear with me on this, and I needed the tools to be able to deal with what I found in rekindling this relationship, and I truly believe that everything happens for a reason. So I was actually thinking about making this pilgrimage, as I'm calling it, a couple of months ago, and things just kept happening. Like my mind was ready to go, but my soul clearly wasn't. You know, I ended up going to Mexico, and I was in plant medicine over there, and that was one of the most healing and expansive journeys of my life. You know, then because of all of my travel, I changed up days with my son. So there's just been a lot of timing. Everything is timing. There's been a lot of things that have either delayed me or pushed me in a different direction to go to see my mum when I did. So when I've been reflecting on this journey, I've realized that this is the work. And I am personal development, healing 101 is literally what I do for a job. I coach women, I mentor women back to themselves, back into wholeness with their lives and their businesses. And the magnitude of this journey sort of struck me when I was reflecting with a girlfriend the other day, that rather than just talking about doing the work, rather than just talking about healing relationships, rather than just talking about unconditional love and healing past hurts and stepping into this space of forgiveness, I actually physically got up and did something about it. And I want to talk about, we don't have control over the people in our lives. We just have control over regulating our own nervous system, doing our own healing, and stepping into forgiveness. So a lot of this work for me, I'll start with some of the modalities that I've used alongside just being really fucking radically honest with myself in order to make this journey. So the biggest thing that hit home was probably the embodiment work that I did. So again, for those that don't know, my mum is a drug addict. She has been a drug addict my whole life. The reason that she gave me up, and from what I understand through conversations with my grandmother and now with my mother, still blows my mind, and now with my mother, is that when I was 4, she dropped me at my grandparents and pretty much just didn't come back and pick me up. And the reason she did that is because she was on drugs, and her and my dad were dealing drugs. And hey Naomi, her and my dad were dealing drugs, and it was truly unsafe for me to be there. Now, the first memory that I have is more of a feeling rather than a visual memory, is being 2 years old, being locked in a room, and having a sensation that I was with evil, and that evil touched me and consumed me. I try not to attach story to that because I don't have visual memories, and I don't feel that I need to have visual memories, but if you were to ask me what happened, I would say that I feel that I was sexually assaulted. And again, I know enough about the human psyche to know that we can also make up story that makes sense in our mind. So yeah, I try not to attach story. I have had some stories confirmed through conversations with my mother now and with my grandmother, but truly we don't need to know. We could purely have been abandoned. I sleep trained my son, for example, and if I could go back in time I wouldn't. Gratefully, I came into more awareness when he was 2, and started to undo some of those behavioural patterns that I placed upon him, but purely because I separated him from me from birth and made him cry until he self-soothed. I may have to help him work through abandonment wounds when he's older.